I'm going to tell you Eric's story because I think his story illustrates larger economic and political trends as they relate to his deportation story. So I met Eric at the Guatemalan Air Force Base, where he, along with hundreds of other deportees, first landed in his country of birth. When I saw Eric descend from the plane, it was apparent to me that he had probably lived in the United States for a considerably long time. His smooth skin, the swing in his step, and his calm but guarded demeanor gave him away as a U.S. Latino. So I asked Eric about himself, and he chatted for a few minutes as we waited for Guatemalan immigration agents to process him as an arriving deportee. He wrote down his number, and I told him I'd call him about a month to see how he was doing. He said he wasn't sure if he'd still be in Guatemala, but I'd be welcome to try and call him in about a month. So just over a month after he arrived, we met up in Metro Norte, which is a modern shopping center in one of the rougher neighborhoods in Guatemala City, Zone 18, close to where Eric was staying. So Eric told me his story. When he was 8 years old, his mother came to the United States, and she left him behind. And when he was 11, she had saved up enough money to bring him to the United States, and he came here on a tourist visa. When he got to Los Angeles, Eric enrolled in middle school, and things were going pretty well for him. His mother was working in a garment factory. He was going to school. But in his last year of high school, Eric's mother injured her back at work and was unable to continue working. So Eric had to drop out of school and get a job to keep the family going. Eric had no trouble finding low-wage work, and he worked 2 jobs. He met a Salvadoran woman who was a legal permanent resident of the United States, and they got married. So once Eric secured a car, secured a job, he had to get a car. In Los Angeles to get to work, you almost always need a car. And on the weekend, he spent time with his wife and friends. So one Saturday afternoon, Eric's friend asked him for a ride. Eric took him to the other side of town, and then shortly after dropping his friend off, a police officer pulled Eric over and arrested him as an accomplice in the car theft his friend had allegedly committed. So once they arrived downtown at the Los Angeles County Jail, a police officer ran Eric's fingerprints through an immigration database because the police district participated in the Secure Communities program. The program is designed to find and deport dangerous non-citizens. So the police discovered that Eric had overstayed his visa, and they held him until immigration agents came to take him into custody. By this time, the car theft charges had been dropped. It turned out there was another young Latino man with a Latino passenger who had in fact stolen a car, but they got Eric instead of the other guy. But it didn't matter that the car theft charges had been dropped because he was already in the immigration database. So Eric was taken to a privately owned Corrections Corporation of America detention facility where he was held until he was deported from the United States. So Eric's innocence of the car theft did not protect him from deportation. Eric's pending application for legalization on the basis of his marriage to a legally present resident did not protect him from deportation. His unborn daughter did not protect him from deportation. So Eric had to leave his ailing mother and pregnant wife behind in Los Angeles. In Guatemala City, Eric moved into his aunt's house where he had lived prior to leaving the country when he was 11. Soon after arriving, Eric secured a job in a call center where he answers calls from customers in the United States. As a bilingual deportee familiar with the social and cultural norms of the United States, he's an ideal worker for this transnational corporation. His labor is also significantly cheaper than it would be in the United States. His job pays $400 a month, which is enough for him to get by in Guatemala City, but not enough for him to bring his wife and daughter down. So Eric's story allows us to consider the connections between individual migration stories and larger economic trends such as outsourcing, economic restructuring, cutbacks in social services, the enhancement of the police, and the privatization of public services. Eric's story fits neatly into these global trends. His mother felt compelled to leave Guatemala because of the economic havoc trade policies wreaked on their home country. Once in the United States, his mother found a low-wage job in the garment industry. Manufacturers have moved most garment industry jobs abroad, but those that remain are low-paid and offer few to no benefits. As an undocumented worker, Eric's mother was less likely to challenge her low pay and lack of benefits. When she became ill, there was no safety net, and Eric was obliged to leave school and then get 2 jobs in order to support the family. So although the state did not step in and provide resources to help this family out in troubled times, the coercive arm of the state is robust. California built 23 major prisons at a cost of about $300 million each between 1984 and 2005, amidst growing poverty and inequality in the state. This escalation in law enforcement spending facilitated Eric's arrest and deportation. The heavy policing of poor neighborhoods predominated by people of color made it much more likely that Eric would be arrested, even though he had not in fact committed a crime. Once arrested, Eric was placed in a private prison, and privatization of public services is another key economic trend, as is the profitability of prisons. So over the past few decades, trade agreements have facilitated the movement of capital across borders. And these trade agreements have not facilitated the movement of workers across borders.